In this video, I'm going to show you what happens when you take the Shure MVX2U and you use your favorite XLR microphone and you plug it into the back of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and get incredible audio. Stick around. Okay, now this video was not sponsored by anybody. Everything that you see in this video I bought with my own money. I make these videos solely because I feel like they're important to pass along the information I've learned to you, and then you can make your own decision whether or not it's something that you want to put into your kit or not. This is 100% my opinion only. I did not work with anybody else to make the video. All right, let's move on. Now, for years and years, USB has been playing a little bit of a catch-up game with microphone technology, in the sense that the interface with the computers or whatever you're plugging it into often produce subpar results when you compared it to an XLR microphone. These days, USB is more or less caught up in terms of technological capabilities and being able to reproduce sound coming from the capsule of the microphone. So in some cases, it's actually taken it up a notch because it can do onboard processing. So you could do things like EQ. You could limit the levels. You can increase the gain. There's all kinds of things that you could do inside the USB component of the microphone. Matter of fact, a lot of the microphones that exist today, like the Rode Video Mic Go 2. It's really kind of cool because it's this tiny little, shotgun microphone that you can set up and program on your computer. So if you're looking at things like that as a microphone that's $99, it's got some of this USB capability that you can program on the computer. The Shure MVX2U allows for that and more, and gives you complete control over the audio capabilities of your XLR microphone pretty much anywhere you can take it. What's nice about it is that it is small and it's easy to take around with. It's that big. This plugs into the back of your XLR microphone, and then what you have on the back here, which is of course out of focus, but what you have on the back here is a USB-C port and a 1/8" jack port for monitoring, hooking up to headphones. You'll take a closer look at this in a little bit. So how do you get this going? How do you make this all work together? I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's start right now. Okay, so I'm here inside of MotivMix app, and you can see I'm running actually a beta of this. And it's still in beta form, and this is we're mid-May 2024, so I'm sure at some point this will come out of beta. It seems to work pretty well. So I'll go ahead and get out of that dialog here. And you can see that I've got a reading right here that's showing me input on my microphone. And you can see Shure MVX2U. Now I have other things. Obviously, I've got a lot of other devices plugged in here, but for what I'm doing right now, I'm just concerned about this MVX2U. And you can also see as I click on it and you see the level meter going right now, that's not coming off of this microphone that's in front of me. That's actually coming off of a similar microphone just off to my right by about 1.5 feet that is now hooked up into the computer via the MVX2U. So how do you adjust these settings? Well, you've got your gain settings. I would leave everything at unity. So channel gain, just set it to 0, leave it there. And then click on the device settings, the gear icon here. And what that does is it brings up the settings for the actual MVX2U features. So you got what's called a monitor mix. So you can essentially listen to half what you hear in the back, because you can plug in your headphones into the back of the MVX2U and monitor that in real time. So any changes that you make to the audio processing, let's say the gain or the EQ settings, you'll be able to hear those in real time with those headphones plugged in. So this just shows the mix. If you wanted it to be all microphone, you'd swoop over to mic, and if you wanted it to be all playback, so basically post processing, that would be where the playback setting would be. So I'm just leaving this as is for the moment. Mic gain, this is going to be different for everybody and everybody's situation. The mic gain is essentially what the gain is on the Shure MVX2U. Different microphones require different gain levels, right? So you've got something like the Shure SM7B is going to require a certain level of gain. The SM7DB, however, will not, because it has a built-in amplifier. It's got a built-in gain on it. So I'm also running here, my two microphones that I'm running off of are the Electro Voice RE20s. These both require a lot of gain, like an SM7B. So I'm going to have my mic gain set up here. But you notice you can make adjustments to the gain here. Now, if I had my headphones plugged in right now, as I'm making changes to the gain, I could hear it inside the microphone. What you're trying to do with the gain level is keep the noise floor as low as possible. So the more you increase that gain, you start to hear the hiss or the ambient noise in the space, you've gone too far because there's no noise gate for the MVX2U. So meaning there is nothing to stop any kind of ambient frequencies from getting into the microphone. You may have a highly directional dynamic microphone that sounds great in a studio, but if you have a lot of echoes or unprocessed areas, which often happens when you're traveling on the road, you're probably going to want to make this setting as low as possible so you get the audio quality you need without introducing a lot of noise into the microphone. Or if you also have a built-in noise gate on the computer, you could use that. Just know that it's not, that processing won't be happening on the MVX2U. It's going to be happening post interface, post USB interface. Hope that makes sense. So microphone gain, just set that to a level. I usually like to have it, like if I stop talking, you see that that meter doesn't move at all, right? Now, car just went by outside, so it peaked up a little bit. So my gain is right about where I need it. Now, I've got it set to 19, but let's say I drag this up to 30. You see how it's kind of fluttering right there? That's too high. And you'd be able to hear it if you had the monitors plugged into your headphones or whatever. You would hear that. And you can also see that even though that microphone is a good 1.5 feet away from my mouth, it is acting like I'm talking right into it in terms of the levels, which means that it's probably set too high, because if I get close to it like this, you see I'm peaking, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to go back down to 19. And it's not like I'm a master at this. I know that 19 works because I've tried it before I recorded this video. I didn't want to waste your time as I sat there tweaking things. All right, so 19 for me works. Equalizer, down below, you can, there's a little on-off switch right here. You can use it or not. I tend to have a nasally voice, so I like to boost the lows. Some people like the lows cut off. Maybe they have a deeper radio style voice, and so they want what essentially is a high pass filter, which is built in here, and that removes rumbling. If you have any kind of wind noise, things like that, you can use a high pass filter, or you can dial it in custom here. So if you wanted to drop it this down all the way here at the 100 hertz level, you could do that. But I like to keep mine up here just because I know that it sounds better. And then these are just your frequencies. So you can turn these on and off if you want. So if you don't want to make adjustments to that, you can just uncheck it. Again, the high pass filter set to off. I can set it. Now here's a little bit of a difference. So if I set it to 75 hertz, that's actually lower, right, than the 100 hertz right here. So the cutoff is actually at a lower frequency, which would remove rumbles and still keep the audio integrity of some of the lower frequencies, especially if you left this flat. But if you were to plug in 150 hertz, that means it would go somewhere in between these two settings here in between the 100 and the 250, and you would get more of a natural, like a bell curve down. You know, to each their own. I don't use the high pass filter just because I try to not use as much processing as possible. What I know the microphone needs versus what it can do is it's nice to have the feature, but it's not a work. So I'm going to leave that off. Now, limiter, I like to keep on. What does that do? That'll keep it from peaking, and that is generally a good thing to leave on. For me, you may find if you have a noisy guest. If you have a 2-person setup, you have a noisy guest. You can turn that on. Compressor. So what is this going to do? This is going to compress the frequencies of your audio here. So it controls the sound by raising the volume on quiet sounds and preventing loud sounds from exceeding a certain threshold. So essentially, it's reducing the dynamic range of your microphone, but in most cases, that's okay. Sometimes, like for me, like I said, my voice is of a certain characteristic that I would prefer to have the lows brought up, and then the highs, kind of the nasally mid to highs, brought down. So I usually tend to be pretty heavy-handed with my compressor. That's something that it's a personal preference. You may decide that you don't want it at all. You just want you want to do everything post, and that's another thing. You can turn all this stuff off and do it all in post. The only thing that you cannot turn off here in the case of dynamic microphones is the phantom power. You turn that off, your microphone goes off too. So you want to leave the phantom power on. So that's it. So once you set up your settings here and you listen to it, and I strongly advise just, plugging in some headphones and then listening to the changes that you make into the back of the MVX2U. And then when you got it sounding exactly like you want it, then you can disconnect it from the computer, and those settings will be stored until you either bring up new presets inside the MotivMix app, or you reprogram it entirely somewhere else. All right. So now comes the moment of truth. So the next step is to now actually make the connection between the RE20 and the Osmo Pocket 3. So I'll make that connection for you, and then I'll show you what happens. All right, so here is the Shure MVX2U plugged into my EVR20. And so what I'm going to do, you notice that the MVX2U does have power right now. There is the monitor jack right beneath the USB-C jack, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into the back of the Pocket 3, which is right there. All right, so I'm going to set this guy down. So now I'm going to plug this into the back, disconnect the Shure. So now the interface for the MVX2U just disappeared off the main computer. I'm going to plug in the USB-C right here, okay? And then here's the other end of my USB-C. So now I'm just going to go over to the Pocket 3. Now I'm using the battery extension here. You can see that. If you have the other attachment, this guy here, right? Then this comes with the Pocket 3, and so you would plug in right there, all right? So, okay. We're going to plug into the back here. And I would recommend this because if you're going to use this camera for extended periods of time, right, you're going to need this extra battery, because now what's happening is not only is it receiving the mic signal from the MVX2U, it is also sending 48 volts back down to the MVX2U to power the phantom power. So keep that in mind. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll come over here, turn on our DJI. Okay, there we go. And now, a couple things. You can see as I talk into the microphone, the little bar appearing, right? So we know, I'm gonna be quiet and just tap the mic. Okay, we know that's working. That's good. Also, you'll see on the back of the MVX2U the little green light here, and that is what you want to see. That means that that is a good connection. There is also a red light on the back of the MVX2U right there, and that one is always red, but this guy you want to make sure is green for sure. Okay, so let's do a recording on the Osmo Pocket 3 and see how it sounds. Okay, so now we're on our third microphone and third camera to show you this one product. Kind of crazy. So here, this is the microphone that I was using to talk to you on originally. Put that away. This is the microphone that is immediately in front of me, and you can see, here it is, right? And I'm going to talk into it. And now I am looking, there I am. I'm looking directly at you on the Osmo Pocket 3. So I'm recording at 4K 60, and I'm talking through my microphone. So Osmo Pocket 3, Shure MVX2U, connected to an XLR microphone. I'm using the Electro Voice RE20, and they look good. They sound good. I mean, I've got, you can see I'm in my studio still, and I don't have very specific lighting set up for the Osmo Pocket 3 right now at this moment, but still you can see it looks pretty good with some manual settings on it. So, okay, let's go back and wrap this. You got all that? Good. Because if you didn't, just rewind and you can watch it again. But it really is not that hard. I'm just going into detail because I want to make sure you understand how this all works. Now, the question you might ask yourself is, well, why? I mean, you have a fancy microphone. Yes, I do. Why would I, if I'm just getting started, why would I need this? Well, chances are you're going to find yourself looking at microphones to purchase down the road. And what you also might find is that the really nice microphones that are available in USB as well as XLR are generally priced higher than a microphone that is XLR only. And that's okay. But what this does, it ends up making the microphone cost a little bit more in line with what a USB mic would cost, because it's essentially building in gain and building in audio processing directly in the back of your XLR microphone. So in effect, it actually kind of turns it into a USB microphone anyway. But if you have the opportunity to use something like the XLR microphones that I have, or even some of the nicer ones, you can always plug those into your Osmo Pocket 3 or any other device that only accepts USB. Doesn't matter. You can turn any XLR microphone into a USB microphone with this little device. So it really comes down to, if you're just getting started, what are your options? Can you use something like a lavalier mic, like for instance, the DJI microphones? Yes, you can. Are they going to be as good a quality as these microphones? No, they're not going to. It doesn't matter what you do to them, they're not going to sound as good. But when you're in studio and you have an XLR microphone, these come in great. These are actually, I would 100% recommend the MVX2U. It has its place, but I would also encourage you to look at other microphone options as well when it comes to using a device that's a camera that is going to be specifically for studio use. Most of my, like the camera I'm talking to you on right now, if I were to plug in the output of the MVX2U into its USB-C port, doesn't take it. Now, it does have an attachment that plugs into the top portion of the camera, the part they call the hot shoe, and it'll take an XLR microphone and then it'll convert it into a signal where it's recorded on camera or transmitted down to Ecamm, what I'm recording on right now. Really, everybody's setup's going to be a little bit different, but when you're in the market for a microphone, keep this in your back pocket. Even if it ends up being something that's a backup. In all honesty, this is a really tiny thing to carry in your kit bag. And you could be somewhere on the road and all they have is XLR microphones, and this will turn it into a USB mic, so it'll plug directly in your laptop. No other interface needed. You get all the nice sound processing that's built into this thing. So I've posted down below affiliate links to the MVX2U. Just keep in mind that if you do decide to purchase anything through these links, that helps go back into this channel in the form of a commission. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps us, of course. Also, I've included down below a link to our email list. This is something that we're just getting rolling with, and it's a way for us to keep in contact with you with new videos, tips, tricks, discounts, and a bunch of other things we've got planned coming up. And so the list is just getting rolling, so the earlier you get in, the better. So just go ahead and click that link down below, and we'll contact you, and we won't spam you, we promise. We're just going to contact you when we have some important news and information to share. Thanks so much for dropping in. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like button on your way out the door. I'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.